Hello everyone. So today we are going to be learning about conditional statements in Python. Like I said in the beginning of the training, there are some concepts, programming concepts or features that are common across different programming languages. This is also one of them. Okay. So the only difference between these and other programming languages will be the syntax. Okay, and they are actually quite similar though. All right. So we'll see how to use conditional statements in Python. All right, so let's get started. Conditional statements are just okay, like the previous the previous programs that we've written in the course of this training, we'll notice that the execution is from top to bottom, the first line, the next line, and all of that, and then we'll get our results. But there are cases where you just want to check for a condition before you execute a particular part of the code. That is the work of conditional statement. So there are programming features that actually tells the computer to execute a section of your code based on whether a condition is satisfied or not. So let's get into it. There are different ones we have. Here we have the if statement, which only checks if the condition is true and then execute a particular statement. It doesn't check the other aspect. But the if else statement checks if the condition is true or false. Okay, so it allows you to check for the two conditions, whether true or false, and then the statement is executed based on whatever the condition evaluated to. So if it is true, a statement is executed. If it is false, the statement attached to the first condition is also executed or will be executed, right? All right, so we also have the if. So there are situations where you want to check for multiple conditions. The first two that we discussed, the if and the else if, are only actually checking for um one condition and then checking whether the condition is true or is false. But the situation where you have multiple, okay, that you want to check for, then you think of using the L if. It allows for checking of multiple conditions at a time. Then we have the nested if. This is you embedding an if statement in another if statement, and then we'll see how to do that when we get to the practical session of the training. So I want us to just jump right into that. So stay tuned and let's get into the coding aspect. Thank you. All right, so without wasting our time, I've created two variables here, A and B. I stored the value 40 in A, the value 20 in B. All right, so let's start with the very first one we discussed earlier, which is the if statement. So, like I said, it's used to check if a condition is true, and then there will be a statement that will be executed. So, this is the syntax. We have the if, then your condition will be specified in form of an expression most times. So, I have my expression A. I want to check if A is greater than B. All right, then you put your full colon, then you press enter. Right here is where you put your statements or statements. You can actually have more than one line of executable statement there. All right, so I'm just going to put a statement to print this. I will just say a. Okay, I'll just say a comma is greater than e. Let's see what this is going to execute to. So we have 40, which is the value in A is greater than B. Okay, what one thing you notice is this is not checking for the other way around. What if it's actually not greater than? And that is what is going to lead us into the second aspect, which is the if else statement. For the if else statement, you can actually check for these two conditions. So I'm going to just copy this and to paste it here. So I want to check for the other aspect of the condition. I'll say else else print a comma, or rather just say B is not is less than A. So however way you want to put your false statement. So this is my false statement. This is my truth statement. Okay, and this is the condition is checking for both the false version and then the true version. So let's see what is going to output true. I believe it's still going to say A is greater than B, but if I come here and then I change this to maybe 4, A is no longer greater than B. So let's see what is going to print for us. So it's saying 20 is less than oops. 20 is less than B. No, so I got that wrong. I got the statement wrong. So let's just change this statement to to A is less than B. Okay, so I'm going to run that again. Then I'm going to have 4 is less than B, which is obviously so where I got it wrong was in the statement being printed. Okay, so this is the if else. It checks for the truth, the true statement, and then also check for the false statement as well. And only one of these is going to be printed at a time, anyways. So if it is true, it prints this. If it is false, it's going to print this for us. So we also have the L if, and as explained earlier, it allows you to check for multiple conditions. So what if I want to check if I think I can actually copy this. I want to check if A is greater than B, and then in this particular, yeah, I also want to check. Sorry, give me a minute. L if A less than B, what should happen? I need a print statement. Excuse me. I'm going to bring this here. That says A is less than B, and then else. So my else now is just going to be my default value in this situation, in this condition. So else, maybe I will say A is equals B. All right, so let's test that and see. So I believe I will still have this, so we can actually just play around the number and see what happens. Oh, sorry, we are here. 400 is greater than B. So let's see a situation where they have the same value. So I actually hope this example makes sense, but we'll take more example as we go on. We'll take another example. So this is the case here anyways. All right, so let's move on. I just want to show us something. Okay, we have a task that we want to work on now. It's a grading system task. Okay, using our conditional statement, if statement. All right, so I just want to show us something that we've not been using in the course of the training, and that's the input function. Just like the way we have the print function, we also have input function. So what the input functions will do is to allow us to take value from the user, from the console, okay, while your print statement prints a value to the console for the user to see. Okay, so most of the variables, all the variables we'll be using so far, we've actually been, I mean, assigning values to them. Okay, but now we are going to allow the user to be the one to enter their values themselves, and that's why I have to introduce this to us. All right, so what we are saying here, let me just remove this first so that we would know why I actually put it. So if I press enter here using the function, what we have is just a prompt statement that the user will see. Okay, so if I put something here and I press 56, all right, so there's no issue until I actually want to use that in performing a calculation. So if I want to say maybe um total is equal to score plus 45, all right, and then I want to say print total. So this is just an example. All right, so let me enter a score 67. So I'll get this error because it says it can only concatenate string, not integer to string. So what it's saying here is it's seeing the score as a string value, not an integer value. And that is the reason why I had to convert it earlier. And that's what we're going to do now. Anything you enter on the console, your is going to see it just as a string value, not a numeric value. So if you want it to be in numeric format, you convert it. For me, I want it to be integer value actually. So I'm just going to enclose this in the int function so that whatever it is they enter, the user enters, is going to be converted to int, and then it's going to be stored in the score variable. So let's see that now. I'm able to get my result now. So let's move on to the main task at hand. All right, so I'm going to clear this and I'm going to just move on to what we have. So we want to check how to, yeah, excuse me, we want to use this particular grading system, which is here. I saw this online and I just copied it. Actually, we have A to be 90%, B to be 80%, within the range of 80 to 89%, and down to he, like that. All right, so we want it in such a way that once a user enters a value for their score, the system is able to give them the grade that is appropriate for whatever score they entered based on the ranges that we have specified here. All right, so what we are going to do now is I'm going to still use my, so we have if score greater than, which is the first condition, greater than 90. Now I'm going to be using greater than or equals to because 90 is actually included. You can see 90 plus. So greater than or equals to 90, what should happen? Don't forget your full column when you want to specify your statement. I will say print, oh, just use a print actually. Your grade is A. Okay, and then I'll move to the next condition. Since I'm going to be specifying about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, I'm going to be using my if. So I want you to remember what we said if was meant for. If, what condition am I specifying for the second one? And that's score. If score greater or equals to 80. Now we'll notice that there is a range. So I will use my AND operator, logical operator that we discussed in the video. If you have not watched that, you can actually go back to the video and watch it. So we have AND score less than or equals to 89. I'm saying less than or equals to 89 because 89 is actually inclusive. So between 80 and 89, what should happen? Should print your grade is B. Okay, so this is quote. What I'm going to do from now is just to copy this line for the other if conditions. I have these three. Okay. Alright, so where was I? So I'm going to edit it for 70 and 79, and that will be for C. I don't know if this is even faster or writing it is faster, but I think this should be faster. 60 and 69, and then this will be for D. And then we have in between 50, 59 for grade E. All right, so let's see what this does first. Okay, we've already entered the value for score earlier. Yeah, we entered 57 or so. So let's see. I'm going to be having, okay, it's actually asking because, yeah, 67. So it says your grade is D. How correct is that? Of course, 67 falls in between 60 and 69. All right, so let's see if I try to enter something that is not within these ranges, what will happen? What if I enter 40? So when I entered 40, nothing actually happened. So this is why I will just introduce a default condition, which should be my else condition now. Else, if none of this, if the value does not fall into any of these ranges specified, so what should happen? Just print maybe not in grading scope. Yeah, fine. So let's see that now. So this one says not in our grading. Yeah, 20, not in our grading scope. So if you enter anything outside the scope we have specified, you are going to get this prompt, this statement here. All right, so that is it for that. So we'll use this same tags even as we go on. I want us to actually separate this here so that we can always enter our value. Okay, yeah, so we have this here now. All right, so we have this separately on its own line. Okay, so nothing is going to happen at that point, and that's what I want. So let's see for nested if. Now nested if um embeds an if statement in another if statement, like I said before. Okay, so let's see how to use that. So I have an example here where I have if A is greater than B, right? And inside that if statement, I embedded another to check if A is not equals to B. And then I'm saying print A is greater than but not equals to B. Else is going to be B is greater than B. Funny thing is the statement you embed in another, you can actually have your if else, else if within your embedded if statement. Okay, so it's not just one if statement that you can specify like I have here. All right, so there will be situations where you want to check for a condition inside another condition that you have checked for, you are checking for. That's when you use the nested if. Okay, so this is what we have here. If I change my a and b value and then run this, is it? Alright, found that is greater than b. Alright, it's greater than b but not equals to p. So I want it to print this first statement actually. So it will only print this if a is greater than b and is not equals to b. So let's see. Make a to be the one that has the 400 and b to be the one that has the 40. So I'm expecting to see the first statement. Alright. Alright, so that's it for that one. So we are going to use the same grading system, right, that we used earlier here as well. Okay, so let's see. What if we want to check for a particular condition before we start calculating our grade? What if you don't want them to enter a negative value? That's just an example. There are different scenarios where you would need to have your if statement embedded inside another one. Okay, so but for now, I'm just using this to check if score is greater than 0, then the grade should be calculated. The same code we have up there is what we have here, just a little difference where I created a new variable and I'm assigning the grade instead of just printing. I'm assigning the grade here. Then I still have my else. You will notice the indentation, the ones I'm embedding, they are inside. So one thing about Python is you use your indentation to specify scope. Okay, so you see all the ones that I highlighted, they are indented within this first line of if statement. Okay, and then this else is on the same level of indentation with this one to show that this else is actually following along with this first one. Okay, all right, so let's see what this is going to do for us. So I'm just checking if it is greater than 0 before we move on. So score cannot be recorded. Why is that? What was my value for score? Let me see. Enter score. So I enter 40. Yeah, because 40 is not in the range. And what I put here is that else. That means if it is not in this range, you should print score cannot be recorded. So I want to enter a negative value for my score now. I don't know why I keep scrolling past this particular cell. Alright, so I want to enter a negative value. So the person got minus 60. Okay, that is stored in score. So let's come back to this place and run this. I want you to guess what the output is going to be before I run it. Okay, so I'm going to run it now. Negative scores are not allowed. So you see, I've been able to check for a condition and then inside another condition. Okay, so that's it for embedded if. So what I would like you to do now, we'll still use this same grading example when we get to loops. Okay, because I want us to be able to, in a real life scenario or situation, you don't actually have one score you want to check for. Probably you took about 5 courses, and then for each of them you want to calculate your grade. So we'll be using list in that scenario. And to be able to use list and use it in your conditional statement, you will have to be introducing loops, okay, to be able to iterate through the list and calculate your grade. Okay, so the same example, we are still going to use it when we get to loops. So up next, I want you to stay connected. If you have any question, please kindly drop it in the chats. I mean, in the comment section. I'm going to see it and I'm going to respond to it. But I have a question for you though. Why do you think I'm not using the or statement here? Why am I using the and statement instead of the or statement? So I want you to give me the reply in the comment section and we can discuss it. And if you think, oh, you shouldn't be using the and, you should be using the or, you can also advise me and let's get this going. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.